Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Fight Podcast. And on this episode, I got a chance to catch up with my friend and teammate, Melissa Parker. We talked a lot about her career when she first started early on in her teenage years in boxing and how she merged over into MMA as well. We talked about her fight that she has coming up and how she's been preparing. Make sure you tune in.
Storm's coming.
Storm's coming.
There's a fucking storm coming, Dad!
Storm's coming.
Yo, we've been punching faces. We've been recapping my fight. We've been hanging out. But somehow we let all this time go by and didn't even get a chance to sit down and chat. Finally, without further ado, Melissa, I'm so happy to have you here and finally get to talk to you one-on-one and get to know you a little bit more and talk about your story, you know?
Yeah, about time. It's been a while, so I'm glad I finally get on.
Yeah, it was really funny though. Rick literally made that link for you back 2022, like back in December, and it's like, man, it was coming up almost on a whole year. So I'm glad that we finally got a chance to chop it up and get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so let's just look. First round one, right? Is always the setup piece. Is where we're trying to fill out our opponents. And I know you as a fighter, boxer, MMA, but tell me a little bit about who Melissa is, where you started, and how you ended up as a professional fighter.
Well, I'm from New York, but I actually started boxing in Connecticut. That's a whole story in itself. But I started boxing at 15 and I made the US team within a year of being in the amateurs. And I was able to be a 10-time national champion. I made the world team twice and I turned pro with a record of 89-22. I'm now 3-3 as an MMA fighter and 6-0 as a boxer, former IBO world champion. And I also was able to fight on the boxing team for both the Marines and the Army because I served in both branches. And I'm a mama.
Oh, wow. I'm still caught on the 89 fights and all of the fights that you had before you even went pro. That's mind blowing.
It's so crazy because perspective, you're looking at the 89 and anytime I think about my record, I think about the 22 because I always like the losses because it stings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is one of those things that we definitely remember the negative things more so than the positive. But for me, I'm like, wow, you've had a lot of fights, a lot of experience before even going pro. So, and I didn't know that you started so young and that you've been in the sport for as long as you have.
Which is funny because they considered it that I started a little late. It wasn't too bad. But there were a lot of girls who were starting to box at 10, 11, 12. So being able to go against them and make it to the top as fast as I did, it was just so exciting because now I'm sparring and competing against Olympians who are now pros that I might fight in the future.
Oh, snap. Yeah. Oh, man, that's really dope. You have all these accolades already underneath your belt. What else are you training for? What else is next? Are you striving for in your career?
Well, I'm former IBO world champion boxing, so I feel like I have some unfinished business. So I stepped away from MMA to focus on my boxing career, and I'll be fighting September 15th for Matchroom, and I'll be fighting Erica Cruz in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 10 round, but it's not for a title.
Okay. Going to Mexico. Oh.
And I have to make a statement because I'm going out there on Mexican Independence Day against a Mexican fighter in Mexico.
So when they talk about going into people's hometown, you're going into someone's home country on their Independence Day, ready to
on the day where they have a lot of pride. So she's coming ready, and I know she's training really hard. So that lit like a fire in my butt because I was like, I can't slack on this one. She's coming ready. She has a point to prove.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So tell me a little bit about that because I know we talked a little bit about it, the discipline and the grind that you've been on. How have you been? You don't have to tell me all the details, but how has fighting helped you to really dive into your discipline to be prepared for these big moments that you're having?
This is one of the biggest opportunities in my pro career so far. So the discipline is more important than ever because there's certain things you can't cheat. Like you can't cheat the scale, you can't cheat conditioning, it's going to show. And so I always think about when the bell rings, it's only going to be me. Like, it doesn't matter what the coaches are saying or doing, it doesn't matter how the audience is responding. It's up to me to execute. So, anytime it gets a little tough, because that's the hardest part is being disciplined and putting your emotions out of it, I just remind myself that it's my time and I didn't work this hard to get there. And coming from MMA, it took me a little bit to transition. I didn't realize how out of shape I was for boxing. So I'm finally like getting into my groove and making the adjustments I've been wanting to. So I'm super excited because no matter how much tape she watches on me, she hasn't seen this transition I've been through.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you're the definition of like the fact that you're talking about all these things that you're still working on and improving, and you've already been in the sport for as long as you have. Like it just really shows that that's one of the things that I love about the sport is that there's always this piece of like, how can I improve and get better? There's different aspects of the sport. And I really have just really enjoyed just the process of it all. And I know that you can relate to how good it feels when you finally put it all together and have the performance that you see yourself, having. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And, us being at a, Main Street and just having all these other fighters and athletes who are at our level or higher, it's
Yeah.
just it's such a push too because we're kind of at the beginning of our careers, so we're getting our foot in the door, we're getting these different promotions putting us on, so it's getting exciting now. And it's super important for me that if my hand isn't raised, it's not because I slacked, it's because she literally was better, because that's the only way she's winning. But I know what I've been doing in training, so
Yeah. Yeah. That's all just having self accountability, right? To go into the fight. And I'm still working to get there too myself, of knowing that I did everything and not slacking off. And that discipline is so important because I mean, I feel similarly too. You want to be able to say, hey, the only reason that I'm not having my hand raised is because that person was better that day, not because of anything that you could have controlled or done better or differently. Yeah.
yeah, and both hurt, but I think one gives you better like acceptance and closure. So I'm like, there's no way I'm going out like that. And she can fight. Like she's no chump. She's not gonna back down. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going out like that. Like I'm not backing down. Like it's gonna be
Mhm.
a fight. Let's go. So this fight has definitely woken me up and reminded me, how much I want this and how exciting the sport can be when you get an opponent who actually wants to fight, because it's a battle of engagement, right?
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
have opponents who just want to fight in fear or they want to get scores off of being scared and just trying to survive or just patty cake and run, you know,
Mhm.
it doesn't work that way now in the pros.
Yeah, it's a different story when that person is meeting you at your level with the high skill and the same amount of heart, and they ain't backing down. So it really comes down to like, all right, how much do you want it? Like, how bad do you want it, right? And
Exactly.
so this next round is dedicated to just that, like fighting. We get to that point to where it's time that we got to bite down. It's time we're fighting. We're already past that filling out point. It's time to just do the work. So in this next round, we're going to get a lot more into it and talk a little bit more about how fighting has like really forced you to, probably dig deep in some situations. Round two, we biting down. Um, Fighting and talking about the last round of just this extreme dedication that you obviously have to keep coming back and to want to pursue that unfinished business. Tell me a little bit about like what have you gotten from fighting? How has that become a part of your life? How has it maybe shifted and changed you as a person?
Oh man, I think that fighting has molded me because I started at 14, where you're still at an impressionable age, so you can still kind of be shaped and molded. And
Yeah.
so I based all my career choices off of boxing because I loved it. I made the US team and I joined the military just to make the boxing team. And when I went to the other branch, it was because I got recruited to be on their boxing team. So I've had to live a life that I've lived kind of in a bubble, and I really like my bubble
Mhm.
because I love the lifestyle. Like, I didn't go to my high school graduation. I was in Argentina representing the US for Continentals, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Like, I didn't go to prom, and I mean, I'm so awkward. I wouldn't have known what to do any. Like, I'm kind of glad I missed my high school prom because middle school was awful. It's my comfort zone, you know. I'm an athlete. I have a feminine side to me, but I'm very comfortable with my masculine side. And so being in combat sport allows me to play with both sides of what makes me who I am. And being 36, I've learned a lot about myself. So carrying some of the trauma from my upbringing and understanding myself, I
Yeah.
now have a positive way of getting some of the stuff that is never going to go away. But I also enjoy fighting. Like, I'm from New
From New York. I love your little accent too.
York.
Man, I feel that real big. Especially just like being a woman in the sport. And I've always been an athlete in many ways, but this is the first time I've ever done anything combative. But definitely been in such a sport that's like heavily male focused that it really has brought out some of these pieces of like masculinity, being a feminine woman and wanting to figure out or how trying to figure out how to balance both and exude both of those, has definitely been a journey for myself, I would say. But through this sport, I think that it really has forced me to accept it and be comfortable with it. And especially when it comes to like men, like, hey, if you can't accept this part of me, like this masculine part of myself, like I'm an athlete and this is how I move, but I'm also a feminine woman too. Like it's not for everyone to understand, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but authentically speaking, like want to be able to be you, do the things that you love, and feel comfortable in your skin. And so I think that's one of the things I really love about you too. And I connect with you a lot on that. And I know that I love fighting and you love fighting, but you still got your femininity with you. And, we do some good stuff and some feminine things together. And I love it too.
Yeah. Yeah, we do feminine things until we sparring.
Yeah, you got to have some balance though. Got to have some balance, a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's definitely cool, but you're absolutely right. That's why part of it is who you surround yourself around because the closer you get to your fight, it becomes more of a mental game than physical because you start tapering, as you know. So now you're not putting so much into being physically exhausted, and now you're thinking more because now you're sharpening up, you're tightening up. You're not starting from the beginning now. Now you know what the end goal is, and so you're putting it all together. So I always try to make sure that who I surround myself, what kind of conversations I'm having,
Mhm.
that it puts me in a good space. I don't become like necessarily a hard homebody, but I will make sacrifices and changes because I know that the mental aspect of the game is what's really going to kick in now. So 3 weeks out, that's where it's like you start to really hunker down on what space you need to be in, and just the people you surround yourself around could really affect that, like you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's important to make sure that, like, when you think about just choosing your friends and the people that you associate with, like, do they want your goals for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, do they care about the things that you need to do that's going to help you to achieve your goals, or are they kind of steering you away from the kind of lifestyle that you need to live to in order to be successful? And I think within this sport, I've definitely, me personally, have like gravitated towards people who want the same thing and we have similar lifestyles, and therefore we can actually add to each other's lives versus maybe having to cut some bridges, or
Yeah.
create some separation with others who lifestyles just don't mesh
Mhm.
with mine, because we're on a different kind of mission and a different mindset. And so that's very important, especially when what you're doing is not an easy task as well.
Yeah, and sorting that can be difficult because I know there were, some friends in my life that they want to enjoy their summer,
Yeah.
and I knew that I can't be doing certain things just because I need to be able to wake up at time, or I want to be able to keep my routine, and I don't want to cut out my morning meditation or reading or
Yeah.
getting to the gym early so that I can warm up properly because Lord knows I need to warm up now.
We don't talk about that enough, do we? Like, I
You know,
feel so old in the gym telling the young guys, like, hey guys, my coach told me that I needed to stretch and I didn't listen. So I'm here to tell you now, you better take care of your body right now.
broken record, but wait until it's their turn. I feel
Yeah.
it's like a badge of honor as an athlete, like, oh, I didn't listen, and now I feel
Yeah.
bad, and now you trade your stories, and be like, you so stupid.
Yeah.
Why didn't
Yeah.
we listen?
We definitely need a whole process. Is this the things that we learn in retrospect? And but that's a part of it. We're supposed to go and share that information with the next, people who are underneath this. Will they take it and use it? We don't know, but we hope that they do.
I know they see me stretching out though.
Yeah.
I actually took the time to stretch today, and active recovery is one of the things I changed in my training camp where I've really put emphasis in it. So I look at outside of what I'm doing for training and conditioning and cardio, and it helps me because I still maintain a balance where I don't overdo it, but I'm able to recover really well and I'm able to feel good so I can like keep going and not miss training sessions because I need extra time. And one of the things I'm going to make sure to keep doing just to like piggyback off of saying like how stretching is so important. So like the cryotherapy, the ice baths, the Epsom salt baths, even stuff like meditating and taking time for me and quiet time. I realize it's part of active recovery.
Yeah, yeah. I really feel like I'm appreciative of just the advances of knowledge that's being put out there when it comes to how to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as athletes and putting the emphasis on the active recovery piece because it wasn't always what was ingrained in our minds coming up. It was like train hard and train harder, and a lot of times that leads to like the overtraining and the injuries, and which ends up causing more problems. So it can be really hard to leave that mentality and adapt this mentality of like, hey, actually, maybe you need to do some things in between to keep your body feeling good so that you can keep coming back, like you mentioned before. So important, definitely.
That's part of
Yeah.
why I'm also glad I'm going up one weight class
Yeah.
because not having to drop so much weight, I'm so much more comfortable. I don't have to start cutting so early. And even if I cut the same amount, I'm not cutting so low, so I don't feel as strained. So I'm really excited to go into the super bantam light featherweight division because featherweight is my natural weight class. So 122, 126, even 130, like I'm super comfortable there.
I wish they had more weight classes in MMA as
Oh
they
man, yeah,
yeah.
like if I had a 120 division in MMA, that would be great.
Yeah.
Making 115. I don't know if I'm ever gonna see it again.
Yeah. There's still work to be done in that whole topic of conversation with the weight classes, but it's really good to hear that you found a really comfortable spot and you're not like I'm pretty sure having to stress as much about your weight and being able to put a lot more of that energy into other things that makes you feel really whole and complete and ready. You
Yeah,
know,
most definitely. I
that's
definitely feel that way.
awesome. All right. So this next round, we're gonna lay it all out there on the line. This is where we show our heart. So I know that you have a quote that you share with me, and so this next round we're gonna get into it. Round three.
Round three.
We'll put our heart out there. So you have a quote that you share with me, and I really would love to hear your insight on what that means to you. It's not always about second chances. Sometimes it's whether there's still a chance. Tell me about this quote.
Um, that quote for me is like my mantra for this training camp because I feel like throughout my career and even like in my personal life, we always get so caught up in second chances. Like you even hear in romantic, situations. Girl, if he loved you, he wouldn't need a second chance. And I hate stuff like that because we're humans and we're on a journey and we're figuring things out and we're gonna fall short. I don't think it's about good or bad decisions. I think it's about us learning. And so you sometimes it's not going to take 2 or 3 times. It's going to take time. It's going to take weeks. It's going to take months. Sometimes even takes years, like our
Yeah.
our combat sport journey. And so I hold that close to me because there were a lot of things I needed to change this camp and tighten up on. And I knew that I would be doing a lot of drilling and that I'm not going to get it right away and that I would have to give it time. And I'm really hard on myself. I'm my worst critic. So if you show me something, I have to get it. And I'm so eager to get it because I want to be great. But I realized, and what's helped me relax is that I don't need a second chance. I just need to make sure that I still have a chance. And I'm in such a great situation and position coming off of a loss. Disclaimer, I didn't lose that fight though. But she got the decision. Not many people coming off of a loss will still get on a really good promotion with a good fight. So I'm fortunate. So I don't think about winning or losing this fight. I think about what do I need to do to be successful because I want it that bad. Like no matter whose hand gets raised, I want to be in a position where it's like she's a fighter. She fought with her heart, but she's also smart and she actually can fight. I want to see more of her because I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm going to need a second chance. But no matter how many times it takes, I'm okay with this because I'm in this journey and I'm not looking to rush to the end anymore because now I'm missing the experience. So I've slowed down and I'm getting a better perspective of who I am and who I am as a fighter. So it made me change looking at what I need to do, and it's okay if it takes time.
Mhm. Oh, that was so eloquently said. I'm so inspired. And I mean,
Get mushy because, it really means a lot to me, but I'm like, you're a fighter, damn it. Keep a straight face.
but it's really heartfelt because um, that's really like the turn that we have to make when it comes to like almost just about anything. We get really hyper focused and getting to that destination and we miss out on the journey along the way, the lessons that we learn, the experiences that we gain along the way. And that's where really everything that is us or who we are actually lies. If we get to the end and we lose, then how much of our identity has just been poured into like getting your hand raised versus, hey, here's all the things that I've gained and here's the things that I've been working on and progressing. Here's how I've improved all the work and all the things that you've done, right? Being able to still recognize those things too along the way. Of course, we want to win, but how what are the other ways that we win as a person, even outside of the cage in the days after that. So I really like that quote and I really liked everything that you how you explained that because I can see that perspective and it definitely resonates with me too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because even my record, I'm 6-1 now. And sometimes I forget, like I have to remind myself because I still see myself as, 6-0. I should be 7-0 in my opinion. But I have to accept it. So my record doesn't define me, what I do with it now and what I look to do. Because some people see this as a second chance. I don't. I see it as my time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Basking on every opportunity that comes your way as in, it's your time. You're gonna use it. What you gonna
That
do with
might,
it?
yeah, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Oh my goodness. Awesome. So on top of all of this, your grind in boxing in the boxing world, fighting world,
Mhm.
and you're also a mom doing it
Yeah,
all.
I am a mom to two creations of mine. I have a boy and a girl, and they do their own sports, their own thing. I can't believe I'm a mom of teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's pretty cool though. So I enjoy it, and you know they've been involved in my career since they were really young, so they're super comfortable. Of course, they have their concerns, and it's pretty cool because now they're at an age where we can have those conversations, and I can really understand how it affects them. And it's helped me because at one point I was ready to retire, and I actually wound up continuing to fight because I found Main Street and I was able to stay home because I was doing all my training camps in other states. And I was like, my kids are getting older. I don't want to keep missing big chunks of time, 4 to 6 weeks at a time without them. And I was able to find my team home base.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool because now I'm not fighting, what's important to me. I'm making it work. So now everything's coming together.
Yeah. I love that everything's coming together. You had to make sacrifices and be away from them, but now you have found yourself in a space where you can pursue your fighting career and also be with your kids too. So
Hmm.
that's winning, if I should say. You win.
Yeah, it's crazy though because talk about like intuition and when you start to understand things. I actually had a fight that I was preparing for, and I was gonna go to New Mexico for training camp. But I remembered my last training camp, just how miserable I was because I felt guilty being away from my kids. And I had came up with that decision, and I was like, you know what? I'm not leaving them anymore. And I wouldn't accept the fight until I figured it out. And I wound up joining Main Street, and I decided, this is my gym. And shortly after that, the medical condition my daughter was born with, it reoccurred, and it was life threatening. And it's just amazing, how when you do the things that are right for you, how we could change things. Because I'm not saying she would have passed if I hadn't been here, because I'm fortunate her dad is heavily involved. But had I been gone, who knows to what point it would have gotten. Just because as a mom, I'm seeing the signs and I'm jumping on top of it. Like I was the one who decided, no, we're going to go to the ER, you know, and figure out what's happening. I no longer cared about my fight. So even as a fighter, whether it's in your personal life or preparing for a fight, you really got to open yourself up so that when you feel a certain way, you never know what it leads to. And now I really feel like had I still been traveling, even if things worked out, this wouldn't be the journey I would be on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like you led with your intuition and you went with what your gut was saying. And sounds like everything still has fallen into place. Anywho, I like to believe that, sometimes we may not know why certain things happen, but when we kind of go with some of the things that happen and we make the best choices, we still end up exactly where we need to be,
You
you
got
know?
to go for it. Like when fucking Derek just went for that flying knee, like when we just go
Yeah,
for it in that round where it's like,
yeah,
fuck, I just got to do it. Sometimes you just got to go for it. There's no way around it. It's that simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
I literally just posted the other day, like reposted another post from somewhere else that just basically talked about how athletes have to really work on trusting their intuition, especially if they have that perfectionist mindset where they want things to be a certain way, because that can like lead to having decision problems, like having a hard time like pulling the trigger, and
Uh,
to be able to like really strengthen that your intuition of making those decisions in that moment, and not second guessing yourself. So that's really, really big, and definitely something we need to always keep that good connection within ourselves of, having that self-trust.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I was looking forward to you getting your hand raised in Mexico, sending all the positive energy and vibes. I know that you've been grinding and working really hard, and I'm looking to see you win and bask in that glory and feel all of that good stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
man, thank you. Received. I'm looking forward to it. I have a few tricks up my sleeve from this camp, so I'm ready to execute them and show off.
Yeah, I think I witnessed some of that some of the strength behind some of those things you have.
Sorry, you're tall ass. I'm glad I have a shorter opponent.
Well, she ready. I don't know if she ready for your power though, but we gonna find out though.
And we're gonna find out because now I got a little bit more weight on me. I was able to add a little more muscle mass, so that was nice. So we'll see.
It's going down. So one more time for those who may be watching, give us some details about your upcoming fight.
All right. So September 15th, I need you to tune in on the Zone and watch me as I fight for Matchroom against Erica Cruz. And I will be fighting at a new weight class, moving up to 122. And this is going to be a banger. So make sure you tune in. And you can keep up with me at Melissa Odessa. That's all my social media handles, Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff.
All right. Perfect. Thanks so much for finally getting a chance to chop it up and talk with me. It's been amazing. I can't wait to see you fight. And for those of you watching, make sure you follow her. Make sure you go tune in. I'm telling you, it's going to be a scrappy, very technical and aggressive, brutal fight. Awesome. So one more thing though, too, is thanks for watching this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe this episode if you love it. Share it with your friend and watch the other ones. And